And hello everyone, welcome back to another C++ tutorial. So today we will be talking about this right here, using namespace std. Up until this point we have been using this, but it's actually recommended that you do not use this. And I'll show you kind of why this is being used. But the reason as to why you shouldn't use this is because it can cause naming errors, which just basically means if you import a library, they may also use std, and that could cause errors in your code because now which std should you use? So it's always recommended to never include this using namespace std. Now if I were to remove this, like that, then what we should do here, because as you can see, we're getting red lines here. So we should actually go here, and with both of these, cout and inal, we should say std : and then it's fine. So basically saying using namespace std allows you to cut off this part from your code. If you're a beginner, then it's perfectly fine to use this for a while because, you know, as you're learning C++, you don't want to code 5,000 lines of code because you have to say std everywhere. But it is also recommended that you learn this off as soon as possible. And I am going to start writing my code exactly like this. So I'm going to remove that using namespace std and always write my code like this, because that is how you should be writing it in order to not get any errors. But if you do want to start, or if you do still want to continue using this, then what you can do, instead of saying using namespace std, is you can use a smaller version of it. So saying using and then std : cout, for example. By saying this, you can remove that std there, and boom, that will work perfectly fine. So this is a much better way than saying using namespace std, because instead of removing the std from everything, it only removes std from one thing. And it's a lot safer to work with. So if you really don't want to use std, I recommend just making a few of these, but I do also recommend you get rid of this habit of doing this. So you can do that, and now we can remove that end line there. And then it's as good as new, but now we just have 2 lines extra here. But I do recommend you try and not do this. Just try and use std everywhere, because if you know how to code C++ by saying using namespace std, then it's very difficult to go back to a time when you don't use it. So let's say you now have to go into a job. Chances are they're not saying using namespace std. They're probably not saying it because they need to organize their things. But if you have been saying it up until that point, then now you have to learn what needs this std beforehand. And that is a really, really annoying process. I take it from someone that actually did go through that, where I now have to learn how to code without saying using namespace std. It was a big pain in the butt. And I would just recommend to allow you to skip that pain in the butt. You do this, just say std cout, because then you'll learn when you should be using std and when you should not. And if something is really just too long and you just don't want to do it, you can just say using and boom. But also keep this to minimal, don't do this with everything. But now I can do that. If we save this, it will still run like normal, so g++ main.c++ -o output, and then we can run that output. As you can see there, we still get hello world. So yeah, this is just something you have to keep in mind. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you'll enjoy, and will now maybe stop using namespace std. And I'll see you all again in the next video.